G'day team, welcome on in. We're doing layer number 2 on this brand new work we've begun, and I haven't chosen out which colours are the most appropriate, so we'll see what we land on. I agree with that. I reckon we'll kick off with some French turquoise. This is our pigment here. So French turquoise, absolutely gorgeous. It's not as intense as French ultramarine blue, but you can see it still has got that nice little blue kind of tealish bite to it that we're here for. Yeah, there's a bunch of places where this colour here wants to appear, so we're going to play into that. There's our pigment there, coming on in. Can you see that too? So, French turquoise, also, just like that gold, excellent complement when it comes to making white look gorgeous, which is exactly what we want to do with that wedding dress. A little bit of a mix up here. Hey guys, welcome on in. So we chop and we change. Sometimes acrylics, sometimes oils, sometimes gouache. At the moment we're working with tempera, and the reason for that is I want to make the paint myself to make sure the work really pops with the colour. That's what we need. We want to pop. Pop. That's my daughter agreeing that pop is so very necessary. Golden teal. Yeah, that's true. They actually are a nice little matchy match there, so I'm here for that, absolutely. Now before we get excited and add it onto the surface, for those of you that were here yesterday, there's one more little thing that we need to do. See this here? Now, even though it's been lightly mixed, you can see there's still some clumps in there. And I've got a time zone welcome card to help me blend it today. You hear that noise? Let me bring this right up here. That scraping noise is that pigment dispersing through the binder. Now I want to keep mixing it here until I can't hear that sound anymore. You can see the colour there, see that? Just keep mixing it until all we have left is the binder pigment emulsion. We don't want patches of just raw pigment. It's no good. G'day, welcome on in. Leslie, a little bit. Bear with me for a moment. This is the mixture here. So we want to keep going until we no longer hear the scrape noise. We're looking pretty close. That's where you want to be. Yes, yes, correct. Correctos. That is my daughter indeed. She's playing with some blocks and watching us from a distance right now. She appreciates the ancient 14th century techniques of Giotto. All right. Let's get some of that through there. So, although we're not doing a realism piece here, by employing these ancient techniques, it's kind of the old with the new, traditional with the modern. It's kind of a fun line to walk. There we go. Gorgeous. As always with the tempera, we've got to make sure we don't go on too thick. It'll still dry, but it will mean that later in the piece we may get cracking. Now, we don't want cracking on this work. We want it to be a beautiful, smooth surface that goes indefinitely, is the plan. Well, now you know. She's 1 year and 1 month old. She's gonna go on her swing. That's exciting. Cooper's going on her swing, guys. Oh, thank you. This is going to be fantastic, actually, because that means I get a view of Cooper in her swing from up here, which I enjoy. There we go. Just fixing up some of the scale that we had in this picture, lifting things around a little bit. We'll get some more black ochre in there eventually, but for now, I'll just go there like that. Gorgeous. Got a Christmassy feel right now. We've got gold, green, and red. And we'll just continue to grow that out a bit. There we go. A bit more. I'm warming to this French turquoise more and more. This is a wonderful, wonderful colour. Leslie, we started it around, 10 minutes ago. Oh, we started the painting yesterday with its first coat, with those initial 3 pigments, and now we're working with layer number 2, kicking off with French turquoise. Now, French turquoise, similar to ultramarine, I think this one's synthetically made. And the reason for that, you'd be like, oh, I want the natural thing. Unsustainable mines in Afghanistan. So, well, we want the real thing. In the case of most of these paints that say French at the start, French turquoise, French ultramarine, I'm not sure if it's the case with French turquoise, but typically the synthetic version is sustainable and doesn't require any questionable labour to bring it onto my palette, and I like that. There we go. I'm going to add a bit of white into this. It's a good plan. I've got my white here. This is, I think this one's titanium dioxide. I should check that. But stark white is what we're working with here. Hey Steph, welcome in. We're painting with some 14th century methods here to make a wedding portrait of all things. And Steph, do not be deceived. I'm pretty sure TikTok puts filters over my face when you stream live. Yeah. I'm usually covered in wrinkles. Too much smiling. That's a good thing. You can see here the edges around there. That's our French turquoise, that previous dark colour that we had. And now as we work here, you can see it's changing into a much more lighter, kind of minty, pepperminty colour. And it's going to blend in really nicely with our dress. Same story. We're mixing that titanium dioxide until we get a completely smooth sounding noise. No more lumps or clumps. That'll ruin the archival nature of what we're making. You see there, it's really nice. See that part through there? Those little dots, they need smoothing out. They're dots of pure white. And as we go, get it into a smooth paste. Whenever it sounds like there's a little bit of sandpaper in there, that's pigment that hasn't been fully combined in yet. There we go. You can see there now, it's almost like the consistency of a melted butter or an oil. See that? And that's what we're after. That's what we need. Wonderful. A few more little clumps to work out there. Now, I'm using a card here at the moment, and obviously a card's quite labour intensive. But if you have a glass muller, now that works as well. Although you sacrifice some of the dexterity of the operation. Hey, thanks Leslie, I appreciate that. I need that little boost. Alright, so there's our colour. You can see that's what's on the brush. Stark difference, we've really lightened it up. We want to do that because we're going to go a little bit into the light colours. Now, typically you could say, right, let's just stay in the deep dark, work our way into the light, and do that as a simple process, just like with watercolours. You can do that. I honestly enjoy going from dark to light, back to dark, back to light, and allowing it to sort of integrate over the surface. You'd say, well, you should come up with a better plan. I say, that's just it. It's having too much of a plan that actually holds the whole thing back. If you get too plan orientated, even though we know where we want to go with this picture, too much of a plan just turns it into a craft. We want to go some places that even if I have a plan, I get surprised by. I don't know what could happen. Little pockets of interest. You might be able to hear Shelby and Cooper laughing outside. There we go. Gorgeous. And the light has done us absolute justice because the sun's just dipped a little bit behind a cloud. So rather than that stark light we had before, we've now got much more of a nice sort of even light coming through the room. So, this shirt desperately needs an iron. I don't know why I'm determined to come on lives with you guys with an unironed linen shirt, but I swear we're going to work on improving that. But we'll do it up for now so we can get away a little bit more with the fact that it's not ironed. There we go. Now, one thing that's really going to bring this jacket into true context is going to be when we add in the ultramarine blue to it to really make it pop off the surface. Ultramarine blue and the other colour, Payne's grey. It's kind of like if you wanted it black but you wanted a bit of blue through it, you get Payne's grey. And obviously a lot of it's still raw gesso, so we need that initial layer there. Once that lands, we can actually start taking over properly with pigment. The first layer is always going to get consumed by the gesso. Stuck in the shirt a little bit. So, the problem with a shirt like this is you really have to make sure that you look after it right. Cold wash, delicate fabric, and then you're supposed to, what's the other thing you're supposed to do? You're supposed to steam it. Well, I did the first two bits, but I didn't steam it, so lazy me. There we go. It's going to slip down into there. Where else do we want to go? Just down in here. Early days though, team. It's likely this picture with the tempera, the way we're making it. It's going to take up to about 20 layers, there is no doubt. I did live at the Hibiscus Coast. I did. If you lived at the Hibiscus Coast, you'd see me on the beach every now and again painting. This though, because we're making our own paint, you can only really do proper plein air painting when you use pre-made paints, otherwise the pigment actually blows away, so that's a factor there. Jessica, so we're doing tempera painting right now. Tempera painting is an ancient form of art which you get the best colour from. It's the most meticulous of all the methods because you need to make all your paint yourself, and it only lasts the exact moment you make it. This tray here, it's got a shelf life right now of literally maybe until it's touch dry, 20 minutes. So you really have to motor through the colours you use, and that's part of the reason why people stopped doing tempera painting and the Renaissance period kicked off, because they realised with oils they could do hyper detail. And then the skills that made Giotto and early Da Vinci slowly got lost to the sands of time. But for those who still love those ancient methods and want that perfect, intense colour, the sheen on this paint is so interesting that actually you don't need to varnish it. It has that much of a luminescent glow that it doesn't need a finishing sheen to make it beautiful. There's something really special about egg tempera. If you look at things like The Last Supper, and the other one is Birth of Venus or Birth of Aphrodite, another one, absolutely astonishingly beautiful paintings that have held their test of time. You see, oils slowly over time oxidize, so their actual shelf life is set, maybe 500 years. Maybe if you put it in a nitrogen-filled box, an ecosphere, you can get 800, 900, maybe 1,000. But slowly, that oil's going to want to break down. Now, there's something perfect about an egg, though. An egg, for some reason, wants to film this bound kind of layer with the pigment caught inside it. And if it's looked after, we're talking indefinite, millennia, endless. And the same thing goes with one other kind of painting that actually even outlasts egg, which is encaustic art. Encaustic art lasts the longest, hands down. Nothing can outcompete encaustic. Wow. But you sacrifice complete clarity when you go down the encaustic path. So although I dabble with encaustic, it's typically just for the abstract works, because to actually do line work is near impossible with encaustic. I can make lines, you can make lines, but not exactly where you plan to make them. There's a looseness, a kind of chaos in dripping wax that you can't escape. Waylon, welcome on in. Okay. We'll include some of that same dress colour in her body, just like this. Gorgeous on the neck here. Her wedding dress is super complimentary. It does massive justice for a lot of wedding dresses. I think there's so many different kinds you can go for, but this one here showing the collarbone and the shoulders, we were able to make sure we do a lot of justice to this area here because of her wedding dress actually doing a great job with that. Here we go. Shelby's taking the little darling down to the beach. I was going to do that earlier, but I ran out of time between naps. You know how it goes with a little tacker. Did Van Gogh use tempera paint? No, he used extremely volatile oil paints. And he actually, it's suspected that he poisoned himself with the toxicity of them. And that's why he went through a yellow phase, not because he fell in love with yellow, but because he could see nothing but yellow. He was poisoned. So, while we managed to make paint go in a tube and never change and stay there perfectly until you wanted to bring it out and paint with it, and that's a massively cool thing, we also made them excessively dangerous in the 21st century. And when artists start painting beautiful artworks and then slowly go more abstract, on one hand you could say they went on their own creative journey. On the other hand, you can say they slowly went crazy. Be very careful with the solvents and chemicals that you bring into your studio, and make sure what you're using is safe. If you're making oils, the best way to make sure your oils are safe and you don't actually poison yourself in a similar way that Van Gogh may have, the best way to do that is to actually make the oils yourself. Get walnut oil or linseed oil, put it on the tray, put some pigment on the tray, and mix it yourself. That's the very best way. But if you don't have time for that, make sure you're in a ventilated space. If you're sensitive to fumes, outside's the best place. If you're inside, I don't believe there's any place for solvent-based paint inside. I feel like even if you crack a window, you've got 4 walls and a roof, and that to me always means confined space. You're an artist. Oh, that's fantastic. But the person next to me is still waiting for you. I'm confused. I'm very confused. You're welcome, Jessica. Where in the world are you from, by the way? I'm here in the North Island of New Zealand. So. There we go. Actually tempted to grab some browns after this. Nebraska. Love that. Love that. Nebraska. One thing we'll finish off too, to really add that final punch of detail to it, will be to include some gouache in the finishing layers, just for that super intense finishing matte tone where it fits in. But for now, we're just gently layering. We're at the start of a journey. We'll see where that journey takes us. There we go. My husband's got good cheeks. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to put down this tray. Colours must choose patterns, but loneliness must choose you. It's quite deep. It is quite deep. Right, let me pick up this here. Sneak over here. We're about ready to cut back in with a few blacks, so I'm not quite sure where they're going to go yet. But while we've been in the process of reframing our right-hand figure and adding in these fun colours, in a way, jeepers. In a way, we kind of went from the red, if you say gold is yellow and this sort of turquoise is blue, we did red, yellow, blue. So, yeah, real spacey out the gate way of doing red, yellow, blue, but we did red, yellow, blue. So who wants some fun facts about pigments? Or should I just shut up and mix the paint? All of you? Wow, crazy. All right, well, fun facts on pigment. This particular color here, black ochre, this one here is 40 microns. Fun facts! This is 40 microns. So what that means is a human hair is about, I think, 50 to 80 microns wide. Now a micron is 0.001 of a millimeter. It's very, very thin. I think that's correct. Anyway, you know how thick a hair is. So imagine about half the thickness of a hair. A piece of paper, a piece of A4 paper for the printer, they're very thin. They're about 100 microns thick. So just under half as thick as a A4 piece of paper. That's how fine this pigment is. With gouache pigment, it's a little bit thicker. They have bigger pigment particles and it absorbs light, and that's why gouache paintings don't shine, but the colour's stronger because it's absorbing the light, not reflecting it. Then you get paintings with very, very fine particles and a gloss coat on the front, and those ones there actually bounce the light back at you, and they have more of a chroming effect. Is one better than the other? I mean, not really, guys. It depends on what you're after on any given painting. And sometimes it's most appropriate to splice between the two. Sometimes a painting can have a little bit of matte in it and a little bit of gloss, and that's quite kind of cool when the lighting changes. Hoity toity, let's bring this up here. Here is our black ochre, and we're just going to mix it in gently, just like this. Now, the typical technique for doing this, they say formulate a little well in the middle of the pigment, and in that well, pour in the mix. That's one way to do it. Helps you control the liquid, of course. Here we go. Let's get a bit more of this in there. There we are. Gorgeous. See just how intense that black is. So the beautiful thing here, and I know making your own paint seems so extra, but if you make your own paint, there's no additives, so I can actually get the maximum amount of pigment that I can ask for and still have the paint flow. I get to choose how strong I want this colour to be, and that level of control. So liking it to something, and I know this isn't going to help everyone, but I play Diablo. Me and Shelby play Diablo 4 once the baby goes to sleep. It's a nerdy little gift to each other. And when I play that, if you think about colour in terms of your Diablo character, a lot of the early abilities and leveling you'll get from regular paint. But if you want that fine tuning that you get later in the game, you need to make your own paint. Or for an example that everyone will know, using paint from the store, that's like Lord of the Rings 1, 2 and 3. And then using paint you make for yourself is Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. Does that make it better? It gives you more. Just see how it starts to turn into that butter when you mix it. You could call this Giotto Pavlova. Though, it is deceiving to say Giotto though, only because Giotto did fresco painting as well, which is when you mix plaster into the pigment and paint it while it's wet. Now, we're not doing that, but that is another method. I think the Sistine Chapel's done like that too. I can't remember. No, it is. Sistine Chapel's definitely fresco painting. If someone knows the correct answer though, don't hesitate to correct me, but I'm pretty sure the Sistine Chapel's fresco. It is, it must be. Don't know why I'm even second guessing myself. Alright. Back on the black ochre. There we go. Let's get some of this. Stand up straight. Let's get some facial features in here. Let's not beat around the bush too much. There we go. There she is, she can start appearing. Here we are. Just gently start making that face appear. we can get too intense, get really hung up on making sure that the face and eyes and everything are perfect right off the bat. But actually, key to making a face right is only paint what you see when you see it, and then hold back. Or ignore me and just do your own thing. I actually encourage that a bit more. There we go. Strong eyebrows with this one. Welcome on in, guys. We're working our way through this black ochre, but a lot of it. A lot of it. So I'm just changing around a few things around the composition on the right hand side, so it's a bit blurry right now, but it'll come out. She's looking radiant. I do need to get a bit more of a hair in there. She's got, her hair's the most amazing thing in this photo. We need to make sure we actually do that justice. There we go. Perfect. Now, stage number 2. I need to add some white into this black, make grey, and just keep on adding in there. Ooh, as that spreads out a little bit. I don't quite know what that statement means, but I'm glad you're here. rude of me. Here we go. There we go. It's a strange question. Princess Diana, tempting. This is a lovely couple, and this is their wedding day. So she's in a gorgeous black dress. He's in a slightly blue suit, but we haven't had it in the blue just yet. And it's coming together nicely. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it. Christy, welcome in. And thank you for making art. It's always inspired me to pick up. Oh, hey, thanks, Dumbledore. I love what you did with Hogwarts. I think a lot of people give you a hard time, but I reckon you really got in there and, you know, made a school worthy of respect. But honestly, if you are going to pick up painting again, two things. First off, have a bunch of fun. Don't let anyone else tell you how to have fun. You know how to do that. And if you're having fun, you're the smartest person in the room. Don't ever forget that. And the other thing is, depending on the medium you're using, make sure you're safe with it. If that means go outside, please do that. And if you are outside, sometimes the wind and sun can get in the way. So early morning or late evening with a light, perfect. If you're gonna go for late evening though, mosquito repellent, but plenty of painting, especially with acrylics and oils. Strongly recommend. Don't go out there. You'll get started painting again. You'll be loving it, and then you'll lose the flow and you'll wonder why. Well, breathing in those solvents will really slow you down, stop you from really finding your groove. Bob Ross documentary actually alluded to the fact that actually could have been solvents that gave him cancer, all those nasty things in the oil paintings. And he mentioned to his son or to his manager that he kind of knew that, but he was going to paint as much as he could before he was finished. I'm not saying whether that's wrong or right, but what I can tell you for sure is there's dangerous stuff in paint. So if you're going to get back into painting, just please, please, please be careful. Don't listen to a label or a salesman. If you're buying the paint off someone, that's the last person you should trust when they say this paint is safe. If you're curious, read the safety data sheets. And if you're still unsure, or if you want something easier, because you don't want all that reading, the material safety data sheet's what's issued to any one of those products. They have to write in exactly all the safety data around it. The stuff a tube won't tell you. Well, it should tell you, but stuff they don't have room to put on the tube. And the other thing you can ask these days is Grok, the X AI, or GBT. They'll both tell you what's safe about painting. If you're doing gouache or digital painting, you should be fine. Gouache is super safe. There's still 1% of the high quality gouaches, like our Winsor & Newton design gouache. It's about as good as you can get. That's the one I use. But there's 1% of what's called MBIT in there, which is known to cause cancer. It's just a fact, and it's about 1% that. And what that stuff does is it's antimicrobial. So it stops the actual bacteria or anything bad forming inside the actual tube and stops the paint from actually separating. So MBIT, it's basically in all paint. It's not just a gouache thing, but it's 1% in the gouache. I think it's 1%. It is in the Winsor & Newton brand. That's more of just something to be aware of. And that means don't do gouache with your nose right up against it. Don't do gouache in an unventilated space. But the ventilation you need is far less than what's required for the likes of oils and acrylics. Far, far less. All right, team. Thank you for the tips. I'll always be sure to look at the type I'm using when go outside. Yeah, thank you very much. Watercolor is totally fine inside. Usually that just has gum arabic and some honey, so you're very safe. Gouache is 99% of the way there to being fine inside. Acrylics and oils always go outside, never inside. Walls, don't cut it. Window's been cracked, not good enough. Anyway, okay. Alright guys, I'm going to leave that painting there for now, and I'm wishing you all the best from this little cute pocket here in New Zealand. I'm going to go spend the last of the day with my daughter and my partner. Bye team.